the content of the Maamer as it appears in the beginning of the Sefer, the subject matter, and that is the kavanah of creation is the Gilev Ani Havaya, the Ein Oid. That was the pasuk that he addressed. And where should it be? In the way of his Yashvus, L'Sheves Yitzor B'Tachtonim. And it begins with the Kishur, the fusion. Hence, Yoitzer Ha'aretz, as opposed to Oiser Ha'aretz, implying Yoitzer, forming, making a bond, forming a bond. And that is the whole mechanism, as it were, of Ishtalshalos, Eris and Kalim, and that manifests itself in the Shom and Guf. That's the whole general Avodah. The source of the Nefesh is Memalek Almi, and comes down into the Guf in the way of Ishtalshalos. The source of the Guf, however, Yesh Ma'ayin, is Sobev Kalalmi. How do they remain? How are they fused and become one? It's Koyach HaMafti Lasos, as the Ramah says. That's food and drink from Daimim Tzimech and Chai, because in Sobev Kalalmi itself, they come from a higher place. And hence, they come down lower. The Chiddush of Osed Lovi is that Tamshacha Ver HaSobev in a revealed way, and therefore the Guf will be sustained from Sobev Kalalmi without the intermediary of the Levushim of Daimim Tzimech and Chai. So much so that the Neshama will receive from the Guf, through that the Neshama reveals that the Guf has. Namely, the direct investor of Atzmus Ein Sof, and hence the Neshama is connected there in a revealed way also. Begin now our next Maamer. L'Ba'omer Tavshin Beis, which is subsequently edited Muger, was published in Tavshin Nun. Many Maamorim of L'Ba'omer begin with this pasuk in Tilim from Kapitel Kuf Lamed Gimel, as we will see why presently. Shir Hamalos, a song of ascent like David unto David. Behold, how good and pleasant when brothers sit also together. There's a famous Chabad Nigin that sung to these words, that sung L'Ba'omer in particular. So this Maamer is based on the Maamer of the Frierdiker Rebbe of Tofresh Tzadik Beis. This was 1962, the Rebbe sang the Maamer, and it's based on the Maamer of the Frierdiker Rebbe Tzadik Beis, 1932. And that Maamer of the Frierdiker Rebbe, as he points out in footnote 2, was said at the Tnoim of his daughter, the Rabbonis Marashena, at her Tnoim with her husband, Rabbi Nachman Mendel HaKohen Horenstein. They both perished in Treblinka. So this Maamer was said, the Rebbe's Maamer, in other words, is based on the Maamer that the Frierdiker Rebbe said, L'Ba'omer at their Tnoim. Hence the subject matter which follows. So the Frierdiker Rebbe asks, in the Maamer that we just mentioned, beginning with these words. Question is as follows. What does Sheves Achim, brothers sit? It already means that means already they sit together in brotherhood and in love. So therefore the question is, what is the pasuk saying at the end? Also together. We just described them as being together. Sheves Achim. And explains that the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Achim Heiman Neshamas, the Docher v'Nukva. Who are the brothers here? They're Neshamas of male and female. That's the plural. Hashayochim Zelazeh, that they're connected. in brackets, Chosen and Kala. That's what Achim means. So let's get this clear. Achim is neshamas of Zon, Malchus, Docher, and Chosen and Kala. Sheves Achim, when brothers dwell together, Sheves Achim. That's what we're celebrating now. If you get up there in the Tnoim, that's when they draw near and bond in the bond of Tnoim. So the Tnoim is literally Tnoim means the condition, but it means the first stage of Yichud. So that is only the Achana. That's the Achana, it's the actual Nisuyin. Shaz Nase Gam Yochad, then they become Bamishwan. Now Yosef Alayis Kashrus, in addition to the bond that happens by the Tnoim, then follows also the Yichud. Hence, we've answered the question. Sheves Achim is the inyan. Achim is the inyan of the neshamas. Sheves is Achim is the Tnoim. Gam Yochad the Nisuyin. Mamshich b'maymer, yeah, clear. Mamshich b'maymer. If you get it, continues the Issa b'Zoyar. Says in Zoyar, Sheves Achim Gam Yochad. Says the Zoyar, Kutshabrichu b'Knesset Yisrael. That's referring to the Eibishter and Yidden. In other words, the Maimer spoke about Neshamas. That's his touch. But the Maimer then brings the Zoyar, that's referring to Eibishter and Yidden, also in two stages, or two levels. Sheves Achim is Lamaila, Kutshabrichu b'Knesset Yisrael. Gam l'Rabbas Yisrael l'Sata. Gam Yochad, also, what's the also? The also implies the unity with Eibishter and Yidden also here, Lamata. End of Pirush of the Zohar quoted by the Frierdiker Rebbe. The Ashleimer, the Rebbe suggests, Shashayich is that Pirush Achim in Chasam Akala. What's the connection? The Frierdiker, well, it's obvious, but the Rebbe points it out for us. It's interesting that the Rebbe makes a V'yesh Leima out of it. Tzarech Iyun. Why it's not patently obvious. It's going to become clear later. But at any rate, so V'yesh Leima Shashayich is that Pirush Achim B'im Chasam V'Kala. The connection between the fact that Achim is Chasam V'Kala, which is what the Maimer speaks. In Maimer HaZoyah, the Kreila Kutshabrichu b'Knesset Yisrael. With the statement of the Zohar that refers to Eden, Eibishter and Eden, who is they're connected. Chasam v'kala shalamata, chasam v'kala down here, mishtal shalim chasam v'kala shalamayla. Devolve and descend from chasam and kala above. And what is that? HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'Knesset Yisrael. The Eibishter and Yidden. We'll look at footnote Ha'ara 6 in a minute. That's why he brings in the mind of the Zoya. Sheves Achim, that who the Achim of Knesset Yisrael. That's the foundation of his Pirush, that Achim refers to Chasam V'Kala down here. The Yisod is the Pirush HaZoya. Yeah? Poshet. Clear? L'chera. Ha'ara 6. He said in the Pnim that Chasam V'Kala down here, a reflection of Chasam V'Kala L'mayla, the Mishtalshel. Eibishter Knesset Yisrael. Rabbi Ramaschal Tov and I'll see there in that Maimah as follows. Shmachlish Baruch V'Knesset Yisrael Yeshtem B'Inyonim Shebeh HaKadosh Baruch V'Knesset Yisrael. With the Eibishter and Yidden, there is all the Inyonim of Kishori Tnoyim and Chasana. There is the engagement. Or actually, a better word is the betrothal and then marriage. B'chag HaShavua Yisrael Achasana HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'Knesset Yisrael. Shavuos is the actual chasana. K'mayim Razal, the Mishnah says in Tainus, on the pasuk there in Shir Hashirim, on the words Vayem Chasanusa, the day of his wedding, that is, says the Gemara, the Mishnah Zematan Torah. So that's the chasana. What's the Tanoim? Lag B'omer. like Kishur Atnoim, and Kishur Atnoim, but like Boimer is the bonding, is forming that connection, the Tnoim, and quoting that from the actual Maimon of there's my modem over here. And quoting from the Maimon of the Fidik Rebbe now, when we oz ad Chag HaShavuos, from Lag Ba'omer till Shavuos, hey moyadei shiluach savloinus me'achos lekala. This is the time to send gifts. It's the Gemara, this Indian, to bring the gifts from the chosen to the kala. So these are tremendous hashpois, he's saying, in other words, happen from Lag Ba'omer, leading to the climactic union of Shavuos. When Eibishter gives hashpois, savloinos, gifts to Eden. Now we'll continue. Next, third paragraph. The lechura, and he adds in Hara 7. Lechura means it would appear. He says, "Lechura hugam be'inyan du'la maskana." Even though it's sometimes lechura is at the first position, then it's changed. But here he's saying, no. Here it remains that we don't know why. Why is this a l'cha'ira and why not v'yesh leiman? V'yesh l'ha'isif. Why does it have to say l'cha'ira? And then bavorin, that even though it appears, but this is the way it is. It's mamish in yonim ruchni. But he says l'cha'ira is also l'maskon, the reis techemed, is techemed, the famous Achron, David Chaim Medini, long story with him and his sefer. He was an unbelievable Gaon Olam who wrote an encyclopedia, basically, on Torah, from memory. He wrote it when he didn't have the thousands of sources that he quoted. It was published by the Fidik Rebbe and the Kahos. It also appears independently published. The whole Meister with that. At any rate, that's not for them. But I think we told the story, but we can tell it again one day. So there he says there, Kloli Aposkim, that l'cha'ira, the term l'cha'ira does not mean necessarily that it is then replaced with a different conclusion, but it remains, period. I'm pointing out, it's fascinating that this is a l'cha'ira and not a v'yesh leiman. Before it was a v'yesh leiman. This could be v'yesh l'ha'isif. No, it has to be l'cha'ira. And that is, yesh l'hoisem, we could add, that bir sheba maimer, the explanation of the maimer. Shnei ha'inyonim the shevas achim gam yochad, what they explain, the shevas achim, he said, is the tnoim, is the kishur between the Shamas Yisrael. And gam yochad is what? Is the chasana, who gam la pirush, it's also according to the pirush, this is mefarshim until him, She'achim, who types the pasuk lechatchila. She'achim koyal b'nei Yisrael. That Achim refers to Yidden, amongst Yidden themselves. So they were saying, therefore, that the same way Chos and Kala are these two levels of connection. So this is connected also to the Pirush. And the other Pirush, there goes B'chlal in the Shamas. In the Av and Achva, amongst Yidden B'chlal, not just Zohar and Nekeva, Yeshte Madreges B'chlalos, there are these two levels. Namely, Skashrus, there's this connection. The Dugmas Kishure Tnoim, the parallel is Tnoim. And there's a level of Achtus amongst Yidden that follows. Having said that, Pizeh Yeshloima, so after the l'cha'ira comes now the yeshleiman. This is the thing that brings the zoyah the shevasachim gam yachad kol al yichud the kutzibich v'knesses Yisrael. He brings the zoyah. First he says it's chos and kala. He brings the zoyah. That's Eden the Eibishter, which the Rebbe explained is the yisoid of the Pirush, it's Chas and Kala, because they're Mishtalshal. Now we're saying it also applies to Yidden B'chlal. Therefore, Yesh Loima, this that he brings, that refers to Eden and the Eibishter Hu, Ki B'chdei Ava V'achva D'Yisroel, which is the Pirush of the other Meforshim on the Posuk. So, referring to Yidden, so in order for Yidden to have achieved this level of Yachad, which is Dugma Sichad and Nisuyin, which is the parallel Nisuyin, it's through first the Yidden revealing their connection with the Eibishter. That's the means by which they reveal the connection to each other. So again, the Maimon, it began that the Maimon's beer accords also with the other Pirushim on the Pasuk, other Mefarshim, that's Eden. Namely, Eden also have these two levels of Shavasachim Gam Yachad. And therefore, now we add a new insight. Bringing the Maimon of the Zohar is not only as a Yesod to Chas and Kala, it's also a Yesod to the Ava ve'achva amongst Eden B'chlal. It's through the Gili of the Yichud of the Yisod, or through the Gili of the Yichud of Yisod, Kuchabrichu. That's how Yidden achieve these two levels of Ava amongst themselves B'chlal. Having said this, so what's the conclusion? That the Pasuk is speaking three dargis: Eden and the Yebish, Chas and Kala, and Yidden B'chlal. And that the Yisod of the Yichud of Chas and Kala and its two levels, and the Yisod of the Yichud of Yidden in the two levels of Avos Yisrael is the relationship between the Eibush and Yidden, and the Gili of that relationship. So therefore we can explain that the Pasuk is Mamsh. The Pasuk says, how beautiful, is Sheves Achim Gam Yachad. And the Pasuk gives, David HaMelech gives an analogy. Keshemen hatoiv, like the good oil, al harosh, on the head. This is referring, as the Mefarshim explain, it's referring to the anointment of Aaron. So the oil, the Shemen HaMishcha is poured on his head, Yered al Azaken, and it flows down to the beard, and it possibly, Skan Aaron, Pasuk itself says, the beard of Aaron, sheyored al pimidoisav, that then the oil flowed down al pimidoisav, literally, midoisav means his clothing. It's called midoisav because clothing is tailored, measured to the person. It says flow, the beard goes to the top of the clothing, the tunic, and here the oil went. So what's he saying? So what's the Sima Pasuk? In order this Yichud of Kodesh Yisrael, Yifel be Yisrael, in order the unity between Eibush and Yidden should affect by Yidden Av of Achva Amitis, Adabay from the Yochad, that Yidden should have amongst themselves these true love to the extent like Tnoim and like Chasana. How is it done? The Pasuk gives us the means. It's through the drawing down of the good oil. As we'll explain later in Sivches. Okay, so what's the summary? The summary is that the Maimon speaks about, the Pasuk is saying that in order for Yidden to have this unity on the two levels of Sheves Achim and then Gam Yochad, which is a reflection of the two levels of the Chas and Kala, which all that is rooted in the relationship between Yidden, Kuchabich and Knesset Yisrael. So in order for that to be realized, it's through the inyan of Amshach Hashem and Atayv, as will be explained. Yeah, we're clear? Base. Yeah. Yuvan ze behektim, but he said the and they will see why the Maimorim, many Maimorim of Lag B'omer begin with this pasuk. First of all, in Pashtus, because Lag B'omer is the end of the death of the Talmid Rabbi Akiva. Going to one day, according to another day, which is why we mourn throughout Svira. They continued dying, but they only died 33 days. He died throughout the entire time. They didn't die on any Shabbos or a Chodesh. So it ends up it's 33 days. So to mark the day that they stopped dying, it's the 33rd day of the Omer. And not that they actually stopped dying then. It's 2 days. Neither one explained why it's a yontif, obviously. You stop mourning, you stop mourning. It's not a celebration. The reason it's a yontif because Rabbi later said on Davis Istalkos, was one of the five surviving Talmidim, that this should be, on his day, Hilul should be a day of Simcha. At any rate. So, therefore, one of the reasons to Shir, why did they die? So this pasuk speaks about Ava and Achdus. So that's a pasuk of Lag B'omer, which is the Eitzah, the Tikkun of the failure, as it were, of Talmid Rabbi Akiva, where it lacked Sheves Achim. So that's the Pashtus. But also for this story, because it's connected with Rashbi. The Zohar relates one time, the world needed rain. It's referring to Yisrael. Of course, Yisrael is the epicenter of the world. Also, the Kamed Rashbi, they came to the Rashbi, Rebbe, Pale Lamaila, by the Abish, there should be rain. What did he do? He said a drush on this pasuk and the rain came. So it's a pasuk that has a unique connection with the Rashbi, even though there are many other psukim, but this one, the story to do with motor, needing rain. So the first child is as follows. We do adiyah b'zen, it's not the questions. Alter Rebbe and Rabbi following. We find that in order to effect rain, the Mishnah in Tainis says that in the end, the whole series of fasts, and at the end they added 6 brachas in addition to the Shemoneh Esrei, so 24 brachas in total. The Goyzim and Gimel Tainis, and in the end they had added first 3 and then 3 and then 7. So a total of 13 Tainis. That's the way you bring rain, not through Torah. Tefillah, fasting. And then the Gemara says in Tainis, he made a circle, and stood, and stood in the circle. He told Abraham, I'm not leaving till you cause rain, and he pearled rain. That's the way to do it. So how is it, the Shaila, what is the Chiddush here, that Rashbi pearls out the Amiras Drush, B'li Yegiya Klau, not fasting and not davening and not this akshonis of Cheni Amaygel. He says Torah, without effort, and through saying Torah, he's pearl rain. So you have to understand the Inyan. The kud is abiyah bazer, and then the kud of the beer that Rashbi pearls. The Rashbi pearls the inyan of rain through saying Torah, not through tefillah, not through fasting. This that a special effort is required. Lifeil yedidas kshomim ubetefillah. So the Maimonides explained that the effort that's required to bring down rain is in tefillah. That's where that work is done. Why? The whole avodah tefillah is man reaching out to God. So this has to be with the work. The ishtadlus has to be in the tefillah. Why? In order the avoid the tefillah that achtonim to oil of it tamshich shomim, in order that our davening should arouse and draw down rain, as opposed to other brachas. This requires tremendous effort. Why? In brackets, rain, which is panos in general, is higher than ishtalshalos. Order 17. But in Taina says the three things that are not given over to a shliach: life, panos, rain, and tchias hamesim. Now, order the kshom nimsu b'yad shliach. It means the Eibush himself has it. Rashi explains that all three are not given, but one could be given. That's Rashi. But it seems actually here that is not touching Rashi, because one could be given. But he's touching the pashtus that none of these keys, none of these are given, they're called keys, are given over to a shliach that comes directly from the Eibishter. You remember that the famous Purim, Tavshin Tesvav, 1955, one of the most extraordinary Purims in the history, period, where the Rebbe then gave Ashirus the vote, raise your right hand. In America, everything goes with a vote. So those who are ready for the Nisayin of Ashirus, the test of wealth, should raise the right hand. In the course of that sikh, he said afterwards, he was very upset that everybody didn't raise their hand. And he says, he's speaking low, the microphone thinks he's talking. It's not, he speaks very subdued afterwards and said, and here, a key that the Gemara says is not given over, and kind of, we grab the key. We grab the key of Kshomim, a Panosa, which is, he's implying no small accomplishment, and you're squandering it. And tomorrow you're going to write in, he's missing this and he's missing the other. But now, because he's embarrassed to raise his hand, because he's Spitz Chabad, he needs Panosa, he's interested in Panosa, he doesn't raise his hand. What should I do? Says that he was very upset. There were other opportunities later in the Nisiyas, also when capitalized on, at Fabrengens. There were by some, but not by everybody. At any rate, I'm just reminded, so I'm sharing that with you. So therefore, that's why you need a great effort. In tefillah, because we have to be mamshich something which is higher than ishtalshalos. That requires great effort. What about the Rashbi? Rashbi dafke. And he, no, not through this channel. Not through the Yisairas Melamata and the tremendous Yegiya required, but through Torah, who? Because bringing down rain after it's being withheld, there's a drought. It's a change in the world. So usually what changes the world is tefillah. Tefillah is you hear may be your will, even if it's not your will. You want to change. But time, like he says in Kuntas Achna. But by Rashbi, Gam, Be'esek HaTorah Shaloi, by his Torah, his Gam, HaMa'aleh de Tefillah, was also this virtue of tefillah, of changing the reality on the ground. That he was able to mamshich it through Torah. Now we have to explain what this means, the difference between Torah and tefillah, and why Rashbi has the mile in his Torah also of tefillah. Yeah, we're good. Praise Gimel. Just going back to what we said before, the Rebbe's l'cha'ira. Why is it to say b'chlal even v'yesh leima? Just say. It's to say v'yesh leima before he gives the beer. And sometimes in the Ma'amar Tzaka says with beer inyan of v'yesh leima. We don't know what's going on. But the Nekudas inyan is that when there's a protest l'mayla and he's breaking through an inyan, so it's v'yesh leima. It's like that's how he squeezes it in. And if there's a bigger protest, it's l'cha'ira, kasha and the pasuk and the teretz. That's the general the bia why Chassidus is revealed with a kasha and the pasuk and the teretz, because even after Yitzchak Kistev, it's still heaven bristles every time. The Maamar, the Rebbe's mamshech alikus lamata ta'as in our very unrefined state, to put it mildly. Heaven still didn't get used to it. So in order for the Chassidus and the kus to be revealed, but a kasha and a pasuk, a kasha and a pasuk. A Jew has a right to answer, have an answer to a kasha and a pasuk. So there's a pasuk in the kasha. It's the passport, in the words of I don't know whose words. I think one of the Rabbi. The passport for the Maamar. Likewise, in the Maamar itself, Yeshlema v'lachur akasha. What's interesting is that in the Sichos, it's less v'yeshleima. It's more like v'abir b'zeh, finished. It's in the Maamar, it's the v'yeshleima. At any rate, there's inyanim which we're not privy to, obviously, in ganzen nicht. But we're just saying, the general observation. Ois Gimel. No, it's already, okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue Be'ezer Hashem. For the next few days, we'll be Zoom only. I'm going to be away, Be'ezer Hashem.